Johanna stepped into her new apartment just after sunset, the fresh paint smell lingering in the air. The worn wooden floorboards creaked beneath her suitcase as she surveyed the space, a cozy one-bedroom on the third floor, with peeling wallpaper in corners where the landlord clearly hadn't bothered to clean up. But this was hers. Fresh start, new city, no memories to tie her down. And after 6 months of back-to-back temp jobs, she was finally settling into a full-time design role downtown. She inhaled deeply. Home, she whispered, though the words sounded foreign on her lips. There was excitement, yes, but she could already taste the nervousness. She vetted this place meticulously. Live-in landlord, secure entrance, no weird neighbors. The report had been clean, but report or not, this was a fresh start. Her first night was ordinary. She unpacked a few dishes, arranged postcards from her travels: San Francisco, Paris, Kyoto on the corkboard above her bed. She cooked instant noodles, laughing at herself as they boiled over. By 10 p.m., she was curled into her duvet with a book, Murakami's Norwegian Wood, the quiet sadness of it fitting her mood perfectly. Then, at 3:07 a.m., she woke, not abruptly. More like half dreaming out of the story when everything felt wrong. Silence pressed against her eardrums. It was the kind of silence that makes blankets feel heavy. And then, a quiet scraping, something like a fingernail on wood. Not loud, just close enough to wake you from sleep halfway. Close enough to make a heartbeat vanish. Johanna froze. She sank deeper into the bedspread. The sound repeated, scrape, pause. Her pulse surged. She cocked her head, listening. The scrape came again, this time from the direction of her small dresser where she deplaced her shaving kit. Her throat closed. The scraping stopped. She didn't move, but every cell in her body waited for the snap of a door, the rumble of footsteps, the soft breath of someone watching her. For minutes, nothing happened, or maybe everything happened at once. Eventually, she pulled the duvet over her head, willing the scrape to never return. Sleep chased her down. She awoke at 7:30 a.m. to her phone alarm. The sun's early brightness felt intrusive coming through the thin curtains. She reached for her glasses, then froze when she saw the edge of something gray poking out from under the bed. Her pulse tightened again. There was nothing there, no gray sock, no scarf, nothing. She shook her head, blinking hard. After a minute, she exhaled. Maybe it was just a coat she left there by accident. Descending the stairs, she stumbled on a dark shape. It looked like hair. Wet strands caught in the stairwell crevice near the front door. She knelt. It was her own brown strands, clumped with some debris. They weren't hers from 6 months ago, they were fresh. And they weren't in her head. Her stomach twisting, she flicked them away. Possibly the wind, or the dry heat, or maybe a freak accident. She chided herself. Don't judge. Deep breath. It's just a few strands. She went to the window and watched the street. Not empty. People crossed. Dogs walked. Life went on. How could something feel so intimate and twisted in a place where days were just routine? Later that afternoon, she called the landlord. Hey, just wanted to let you know about, some hair in the stairwell and some weird sounds last night. Silence. Stairwell gets windy with the dryer vent. And pipes make noises at night. Nothing to worry about. She still wasn't sure, but he did live 1 floor below. If something happened, she could always knock. But that didn't help her heart stop skipping. She couldn't fall asleep until well past midnight. Every little creak had her twisting her sheets. So she set up her phone, flashlight app, microphone app, motion noise app. She tucked it under her pillow and finally drifted off. At 2:45 a.m., the apps pinged. Motion near the dresser, audio soft breathing. Enough for her heart to race again. She sat up. The darkness felt alive. She tried to steady her breath. Motion sensors moved slightly, just breeze from the cracked window. Her heart pounded loud enough it might wake the neighbor. She reached for her phone, and the movement and the breathing stopped. Her knuckles white, she wasn't completely convinced she didn't imagine it. But the recorder said otherwise. She let it play on loop only faint static when she pressed play just now. The next day, she ordered a small mirror to angle toward the dresser. She left sticky notes on the mirror's backside. Record me. Make sure, more odd, she added her own name in case she forgot who belonged there. Still, there was no solid evidence, just suspicion and dread. She learned the police don't take maybe intruders seriously without proof. Cameras considered trespass. She couldn't afford more. The third night, she waited it out. After midnight, she opened her phone again. The app's pinged at 1:56 a.m. movement at the dresser. Then door latch clicked, bathroom door. She didn't intend to check. Curiosity or fear overrode her. She eased out of bed, toeing across the floor to her bedroom door. She cracked it, too scared to look inside. Bathroom light off, door closed. Through its crack came breath not hers. Slow, even, someone breathing in the dark. She opened it, no one, no footsteps leaving. But she caught a glimpse of a white t-shirt sleeve disappearing behind the mirror. She sank down her hallway, shaking. The door clicked shut behind her, though she never touched it. She reached for her phone in sheer panic and squared her shoulders. Enough. She tapped a note. You are not safe. The first chapter ends on that bone-deep fear. Johnny's fresh start has become something else. A terrifying game she didn't start and may not win. Johanna woke to a dull ache behind her eyes. Sleep collapsed into trouble again. The apartment felt cold, like the walls were watching. Strong, bitter, the only thing real that night. She walked to the dresser mirror, saw her own eyes bloodshot, alert. In meetings, her mind drifted to that bedroom, that sound. She replayed the audio loop in her head, that soft exhale. She fought waves of horror and exhaustion. Then she heard it, soft thump, something walking on the floorboards above her room. Then a pause, and the chair in the hallway tapped like someone had lifted it. Gaslighted herself. It was just breathing from the vents. She grabbed the chair and locked the bedroom door from inside, heart pounding. She touched the corner of her desk where she propped up her phone facing the dresser, a makeshift guard. She snapped a photo, posted it in a private journal on her phone. Moved 3 p.m. just now. Useless. She reached for her phone, flicked through security logs. Nothing. No camera connected, but the night's app data still fresh in her trembling fingers. She prepared tea, paced around, checking every lock, every window. When he arrived, she nearly wept relief. At 3 a.m., corridor rattled, footsteps, towels lightly abstracting the floor. She grabbed phone, shone flashlight, hallway draped in shadow. No movement, then click. The bathroom light switched off without her. Breath behind the bathroom door. She dressed in sweats, made tea, and forced herself to drink it slowly. It's not locked properly, please come check. I know you said no one lives here, but I'm scared. Maybe I'm just tired. Placed it carefully aimed down the hall at the dresser. At work, Johanna tried to force focus. Left a note stuck to the kitchen wall. I see you. Back home, she found her toothbrush moved a few inches, no pattern, no sense. That evening, she decided to test, locked every door. Propped kitchen chair under the doorknob. Then she sat, trembling, watching minutes crawled by. She shivered. Next morning, she left a message with the landlord. It doesn't move fast, just stands, barely breathing. Then drops to kneel, like searching for something. Then slowly fades out of frame as if retreating. Brian, I believe someone is in my place. No reply until afternoon. I'll swing by around 5. Don't worry too much. Johanna didn't calm down. 5 p.m. felt like hell's deadline. They walked every room. He tested door latches, windows, air vents. Everything's locked, totally clear. He affirmed, no sign of entry. Johanna watched him leave, but the knot in her chest didn't ease. She knew some truth wasn't in locks. She didn't sleep again. She swallowed, stepped forward, heart thundering. She flung the door open, empty bathroom, soaked towel draped over the shower rail. Her towel, she hadn't used it this week, in the mirror, a curt reflection. Not her, she cried, locked bathroom and bedroom. Next day, she bought a shelf security camera from a nearby electronics store, then waited again. At 7 a.m., she woke to a video upload notification on the camera app. Her heart sank. She opened it, black and white footage from 2:55 a.m. Shape emerges near dresser, dark silhouette. Her hands shook. She opened the app's timestamp log, 3:12 a.m. Motion detected. A blue-tinged tear slid down her cheek. She whispered under breath, "You're here." The next morning, Johanna stared at the black and white footage on her phone until her eyes blurred. The silhouette had been real. The noise, the presence, it wasn't in her head anymore. She showed the clip to her friend Naomi. "This is real," Melissa said, watching the video with mounting dread. Naomi nodded slowly. "You need more cameras every corner." And a way out signal. Nothing until the third night at 2:22 a.m. The living room camera lit up, a figure tall, male, moving slowly toward the bedroom door. It vanished as it crossed the threshold. Johanna nodded. Her hands shook. She realized someone knew her, not a stranger, someone close. She went home and set up 3 cameras: hallway, bedroom, living room, while Naomi arrived early the next morning to help. Together, they watched the live feed for 2 nights. Johanna crept down the hallway, calling quietly, "Who's there?" only to be met with silence. In the bedroom, the figure was gone, but tattoos of her fiancé, Ben, his initials, were scratched into the wooden floor, faint, fresh. She changed into Ben's old hoodie and lay on the bed, pretending to sleep. Around midnight, a creak through the dark corridor. She froze. The collar of the hoodie smelled like him. Heart racing, she whispered, "Ben." The breathing halted, then soft footsteps into the room. She reached out her hand and caught the air. She sank to her knees, stunned. Ben was alive. How? A week later, Johanna returned from work to find a coffee cup engraved with her initials on the table. The officer watched, shook his head. No prints. "No ID, this is beyond me." The officer gave a sympathetic look. "Look, I'll file a report, but you'll need proof he's not alive." In their place, a single Polaroid pinned to the wall, Ben and Johanna, smiling on their wedding day, but in the background, a dark figure stood behind Ben. "I didn't want you to know so soon. I just needed to stay close." Ben, familiar stance, blurred face. "Without that, it's just your word." That night, she finally called the police. They arrived, took the cameras, dusted for prints, found none. The officer took a look at her face, frazzled and pale. "Tell your fiancé to stop messing around, okay?" She wanted to scream. Ben was supposed to be dead for a year. She tried again. "My fiancé died last year." The next day, both sets of wedding photos disappeared from their albums. She grabbed her phone. Called Ben's parents, but they said they hadn't seen him since the funeral. Distress turned to panic. That night, she set a trap. A whisper, almost his voice, but distant. "Johanna," she screamed. Police came again, video in hand. The hallway camera recorded a man tall, slender, face blurred, walking, pausing at the bedroom door, fading away. The following day, Johanna found a letter slipped under her door. "Johanna, don't be scared. I'm still me, I never left." Her chest clenched, tears streamed. He was here, alive, or something like him. But what was he really? Johanna's apartment felt like a labyrinth. Lights blazing, cameras rolling. Every lock double-checked, yet somehow the tension hung thicker than ever. It felt like bait. At 9:32 p.m., she sat waiting. She hadn't slept properly for days, and every sound now had the weight of threat. The figure appeared at the threshold, tall, slender, the shape unmistakably Ben, but shrouded in darkness. Early evening, Johanna set a table for 2 with 2 steaming cups of tea and placed Ben's old watch between them. The silence was absolute for nearly an hour. Then, around 10:25 p.m., Her living room light flickered. A shadow moved across the wall, then footsteps. Johanna held her breath. Then her voice trembled. He nodded once, his presence still enough to make her stomach lurch. He stepped forward slowly, brushing past the watch, which clattered to the ground. She bit her lip, standing. "Why are you here?" Her voice was firm, but betrayal echoed through it. No tears, no greeting, just reflection. She realized he was talking to someone, or something. He looked at her, his eyes familiar, yet distant. "Don't you remember?" His voice was low, gentle, almost reverent. "But I remember you here, alive." She shook her head. "I remember the funeral. I remember the ambulance. I remember the doctor." Her voice cracked. He paused like he was calculating words. "I woke up and I couldn't leave. Not without seeing you again." She frowned. "You're not allowed." "You died," he coughed, and the air around them seemed to twitch. "Did I?" Confusion washed through her. That one answer made her question her own memories. "So I'm bad at reading labs, asleep, sick?" "I can't tell." Johanna reached for her phone, but he raised a hand. "Watch me. I loved you too much to leave when I woke up." She held up the camera feed on her screen. In black and white on the live feed, he appeared clearly complete with his features, the same scar above his eyebrow. "I've tried to stay away from cameras. I didn't want to scare you more. For months, I thought I was going crazy." "That is you," she whispered. The watch lay so close to her foot. A symbol of their life, he watched the screen. Tears blurred her vision. She swallowed. "I filed a missing persons report. They have photos from the funeral. You were declared dead." He looked at her with sorrow. "That report was wrong." She stood abruptly and yanked at her hair. He fell to one knee, grabbing her shaking hands. "Johanna, I'm real. I'm sorry." She slapped him, hard. "You're not my husband. You're something else." He flinched, hurt. Blood seemed to glisten on his cheek. "I am him. I am here. And I forgive you for not believing." She backed away. "You're dangerous, gaslighting me." He tilted his head in pain. "I didn't come to scare you. I came because it's all I know." The confrontation shattered something. The room fell silent. Tears streamed down his cheeks. Silent grief. Johanna looked at him, face frozen between familiarity and horror. She dropped to her knees, collecting it. "I need to know the truth." He wiped his face. "Ask." She looked him in the eye. "Did you die?" He shivered, lost. "Maybe." He looked at his hands. "But I came back, whatever that's worth." 3 weeks after the confrontation, the apartment remained a battleground. Johanna moved the cameras to capture every angle: living room, hallway, kitchen. Screens blinked with empty frames, no figure, no letter, no late-night footsteps. The silence felt like a pause before a storm. She had taken leave from work on Friday. Nurse taught as piano strings. Her plan: reveal everything tonight. The figure, the rice bowl he used, that whispered letter, the watch. Either get proof or end this nightmare. Settled onto the couch. The living room, her living room, looked like a war zone of human doubt and engineered terror. She held the watch, traced its hands with trembling fingers. She brewed peppermint tea. On her phone, she set a timer, 9 o'clock p.m., arrival time. She squared her shoulders and stared at the hallway. 9:05 quietly edged in. The light flickered again. Her ear caught breath near the kitchen door. It was him, tall, slender silhouette. Johanna's heart slammed. This time she didn't scream. She stood. "Ben," she said, firm yet shaking. He stepped forward into the light at 9:07 p.m. Everything in her memory yelled danger, while a fragment from a happier time whispered, "Welcome." "Thank you," he said, voice thick. He wore the same collared shirt she remembered. "Why are you still here?" Her words carried years of abandoned love and fractured sanity. He didn't answer immediately. His gaze drifted to the watch in her hand. "I wanted to see you," he said after a breath, "to tell you." The live feed captured him clearly, shadow moving into well-lit frame. He sighed. I never died. I was scared you'd moved on. I couldn't bear being a ghost. His admission held the key but also the poison. She stood and flicked her finger at the camera. Record this, her breath hitched. The blood rushed in her ears. Don't you remember surgery? There was a misidentification. They declared the wrong body. His voice was gentle, uncertain, human. Her mind spun. Misidentification, but she saw him on the gurney. I woke in a morgue. They moved me to a ward. Kidnapped me from the record. I didn't know how to get back. Or if you'd want to hear from me. He ran a hand through his hair. Tears welled. Why didn't you talk? He looked at her with eyes she fell in love with. She sank to the sofa. He nodded, took a seat across. No ghosts, no breath hiding, just him, alive. Everyone at work thought I was dead. He uncrossed his fingers. My parents filed for death. It was public. She exhaled. So no one thought to ask again. He shook his head. There were complications. Johanna's eyes hardened. Do you want back in fully? Because you almost killed me. He nodded. I want to rebuild if you let me. The apartment is no longer a cell, but a refuge. Johanna stood at the final threshold release or lock. She held his gaze. I need proof. He reached into his pocket and pulled his ID badge, new but correct. The camera captured it all. She exhaled. Tears fell. Then we fixed this. Together. He stood, hesitated, then moved toward her. Weeks later, official statements, death records corrected. Police closed the missing case. Johanna and Ben sat on the porch for the first time in months. A fresh breeze. Lock clicked secure. They held hands. No cameras. Johanna whispered, we survived ghosts and worse. He kissed her knuckles. Now we live.